Consumers are being defrauded as a result of online fraud, credit card and ATM fraud. That's according to the Banking Ombudsman's annual report for 2018. Consumers are urged to be vigilant and not share their personal information with strangers, even if they claim to be bank representatives. And if consumers are found to be negligent, the banks will not reimburse them for the fraud.
The Banking Ombudsman dealt with just over 7,300 cases relating to online fraud, and online fraud cases increased by 40% in the last 2 years. At the same time, ATM fraud complaints dropped by 4%. Internet banking, ATM and credit card fraud account for 48% of the complaints received by the Banking Ombudsman. The Ombudsman says in many of these cases, victims disclose their personal banking details, passwords and PIN numbers to strangers.
Many consumers are still suffering from losses that they suffer as a result of scams, mostly phishing emails that they click on. They go to a website, they think it's the bank. They input all their information, password and PIN, but it's not the bank's website. It's a fraudulent site. So that's the highest number of complaints in our office. Second highest was ATMs, and third was credit cards. So all three, it's fraud-related matters.
The Ombudsman says that the criminals impersonate the bank employees. They then send bank customers email and contact them via telephone.
Some of the common things that we've seen is that the criminal will send out a communication, an email, and they'll have an attachment, and they would say, we confirm the deposit was made into your account this morning. If you want to view the transaction, please, you can view it on the attached document. And everybody's so curious. So what's just happened? It's social engineering. The criminal has manipulated you emotionally because you're now curious, you want to see what's in that attachment, and you go in and you click and you open, and what's happened? Malware is loaded on your device.
About 70% of complaints received by the Ombudsman were from people over the age of 40. The Ombudsman is targeting awareness campaigns towards this group.
It's so important for people, whether you're old, whether you're young, whether you're in the country or out of the country, so important to make sure that you know who you're talking to. Never, ever, under any circumstances, give anybody information relating to your bank logging information, your password, your PIN number, your expiry date on your card, your CVV number. That's the 3 numbers at the back of the card. You should never, ever give it to anybody, full stop, even if the person tells you they're from your bank.
About 37% of cases opened were related to maladministration on the side of the bank. This is because the banks did not follow their own internal procedures, which caused a loss. Other complaints relate to the banks failing to conduct an affordability assessment when granting credit as required by the National Credit Act.
This year, we've seen a huge increase in credit card fraud, mostly telephone calls. So it is a person phoning the consumer, pretending to be from the bank, and then saying all sorts of things which makes the consumer believe he's talking to the bank person, giving all the information, the PIN, the CVV number, everything, and then that enables the fraudster to do an online transaction, because you remember he doesn't have the card. But online you don't always need the card, you just need all this information.
The Ombudsman says that in some instances, the fraudsters create fake bank websites. Experts have urged consumers to rather use their own computers or the bank's one to transact. They say this will help reduce the incidence of fraud.
You don't know that machine. You don't know what antivirus, what anti-spyware, what patches have been updated. You don't know if there is what is called a keylogger. A keylogger is a piece of hardware device that's installed onto that machine. And when you're typing, so say you go in and you're doing your internet banking, you go onto your bank's website, you're typing in your username, you're typing in your password. That keylogger records all of those things. So you don't know that because it's a machine you don't know. That's why we say to people, don't use a computer that you don't know, not only in internet cafes, but anywhere.
Many bank customers are opting to use internet banking for convenience And to avoid the long queues at the banks, now criminals are capitalizing on this and are exploring all the loopholes to defraud unsuspecting bank customers. The banking ombudsman has warned customers against clicking on any email link or divulging their personal information to strangers. Naledi Matlapeng, SABC News, Johannesburg.